Hari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giripardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giripardhari Yashodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giripardhari Giripardha Yashodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivjakacharya Stotashat Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Stotashat Shishimat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Anantagoti Vaishnavarinda Ki Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Maipur Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Jai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the non-assembled devotees. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivasesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhuva Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to Bhagavatam class. We made it through Radhastami in fine form. Okay. So today we are reading from many verses, 6 to 14. 6 to 14, excuse me. I don't think so, no. Canto 3, chapter 16. Is it? Chapter 17. Okay, so I think I need the part 2. Okay. That looks more like it. 6 to 14. So there's quite a few texts here without purports until we get to one of them that has a little purport, and then 14 which has a slightly larger than little purport. So you'll have to forgive my Sanskrit recitations, but we'll get through it nicely, and then we're repeating text 14 together. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Third canto, 17th chapter, text numbers 6 to 14. 6 is, victory over Hiranyaksha. Uttasattadidamboda gat. Oh, is it there? Oh, great. We're reading text 6. Gataya nastabhagane vyomni pravishtatamasa nasma vyadrishyate padam Uttasattadidam bodha Gataya nastabhagane Vyomni pravishtatamasa Nasma vyadrishyate padam. Anyone like to repeat? Uttasattadidam bodha Gataya nasta bhagane Vyomni pavista tamasa Nasma vadrishyate padam Uta sattadidam bodha Gataya nasta bhagane Vyomni pavista tamasa Nasma vyadishyate padam Uta sattadidam bodha Gataya nasta bhagane Vyomni pavista tamasa Nasma vyadishyate padam Udhasat, laughing loudly. Tadit, lightning. Ambodha, of clouds. Gataya, by masses. Nasta, lost. Bhagane, the luminaries. Vyomni, in the sky. Pravishta, enveloped. Tamasa, by darkness. Na, not. Sma vyadrishyate, could be seen. Padam, any place. Translation: the luminaries in the heavens were screened by masses of clouds in which lightning sometimes flashed as though laughing. Darkness reigned everywhere and nothing could be seen. Text 7. Chukrosha vimana vardhi udumi kshubiti doraha sodapanascha saritas chukshubhu shusha shukshka pankajaha. The ocean with its high waves wailed aloud as if stricken with sorrow, and there was a commotion amongst the creatures inhabiting the ocean. The rivers and lakes were also agitated, and lotuses withered. Text 8. Muhu paritayo bhuvan sarovo shashi suryaho nirgata rata nirhada vivarebhya prajanire. Misty halos appeared around the sun and the moon during solar and lunar eclipses again and again. Claps of thunder were heard even without clouds, and sounds like those of rattling chariots emerged from the mountain caves. Text 9. Antagrameshu mukhato vamantyo vanim ulbanam shrigalo lukaktankarai pranudur ashivam shivaha. In the interior of the villages, she-jackals yelled portentously, vomiting strong fire from their mouths, and jackals and owls also joined them with their cries. Hare Krishna. Text number 10. Sangitavad rodanavad unamaya shirodharam vyamunchad vividhavacho gramashim hastatataha. Raising their necks, dogs cried here and there, now in the manner of singing and now of wailing. Text 11. Karascha karkashai chataha kurai natto taram talam karkara rabashamata paryadhavan varutasaha. O Vidura, the asses ran hither and thither in herds, striking the earth with their hard hooves and wildly braying. Purport: asses also feel very respectable as a race, and when they run in flocks hither and thither in so-called jollity, it is understood to be a bad sign for human society. Text 12. Rudanto rasabatrasta Nidad udapatan gagaha gos ranye cha pasava sakrinmut tram akurvata. Frightened by the braying of the asses, birds flew shrieking from their nests, while cattle in the cowsheds as well as in the woods passed dung and urine. Text 13. Gavotrasan asrigdohas toyada puya varshinaha vyarudan devalingani Drumapeto vinanilam. Cows, terrified, yielded blood in place of milk. clouds rained pus, and the images of the gods in the temples shed tears, and trees fell down without a blast of wind. And finally, text 14. Grahan punyataman anye bhaganams chapidipitaha aticheru vakratgatya yuyuduscha parashparam. Ominous planets such as Mars and Saturn shone brightly and surpassed the auspicious ones such as Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, as well as a number of lunar mansions. Taking seamlessly retrograde courses, the planets came in conflict with one another. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The entire universe is moving under the three modes of material nature. Those living entities who are in goodness are called the pious species, pious lands, pious trees, etc. It is similar with the planets also. Many planets are considered pious, and others are considered impious. Saturn and Mars are considered impious. When the pious planets shine very brightly, it is an inauspicious, it is an auspicious sign. But when the inauspicious planets shine very brightly, this is not a very good sign. Oh. Okay, so please, before I begin, I beg for all your blessings that I may say something worthwhile and beneficial and purifying for myself as well as yours. Thank you for this service. So I will begin. So in this verse it's just not a full recap of what's going on. I believe we've heard it a few times as far as how we get to this stage where all these inauspicious activities or inauspicious signs are occurring in the world is because Jai and Vijay have fallen due to the curse of the Brahmanas and have entered the womb of Diti, and in the form of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, so two very great demons in the first age. So here Prabhupada is giving, well, in the verses it is explaining all these horrible events that are happening due to the appearance of these demons in the womb. And in this final verse, Prabhupada is explaining how there are certain events that we can see materially speaking, astrologically, that will have an impact that we can see. And Vishnu Jan touched on that very nicely on Tuesday, that we can see scientifically or materially why is these bad things happening. It's because the demigods or the personalities in charge of certain elements in the world are upset and things are going awry. So that's where we get all these inauspicious activities happening. But today with this verse, I don't have qualifications or much, to be honest, care about astrology. I don't have that function in my brain, so I can't really talk so much about the pious and impious planets, the auspicious and inauspicious planets, but there are plenty of devotees that can, like Devagora Hari Prabhu, Yadunandan Prabhu, and Divya Purusha Prabhu. Like, if you want to talk about planets, they're your people. Anyhow, these verses I got a lot out of realizing the balance between impiety causing material problems, and therefore on the other side of the coin is an increase in piety. In pious actions will increase the spiritual, will provide spiritual solutions to a challenged world. So that's kind of what I was gaining from reading this chapter and the subsequent verses as well, talking about the damage that happens to the world when there's an increase in impiety. So we can see at least here in this chapter that the two demons had appeared in Diti's womb, and she saw all these. She's not blind. She's seeing all these inauspicious things happening around the world, so much that she was upset about this that she held on to these two demons inside of her for 100 years in fear of them coming out. I mean, for the parents, I'm sure, to think of having a child for 100 years before then coming out into the world seems like, I mean, I can't quite fathom that, and I'm sure you can't either, but that's telling, I think, the fact that she was, I mean, repentant, but kind of too late. Whoops. Like this. And then Devagora Hari Prabhu said, I think on the day before, this highlights a lot the importance of this Govardhana samskara, of how to actually conceive children in a way to actually invite. I don't want to keep saying the word auspicious, but like more. How do you say? pure souls, more pure souls, souls that are on this trajectory up, rather than the demons which are on the trajectory down, or maybe at the bottom of the barrel already. So this is where this Shastra is very important to understand. So how to apply this Shastra. The intersection of practicality and philosophy is really, really so important when we're approaching any text. But even looking at the names of these two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, it's very telling as to what we're going to expect in the coming verses, chapters, and even cantos later when we get the big, exciting moment with Hiranyakashipu and Nrsimha. Hiranya meaning gold, Aksha meaning eyes. So you can see already the names aren't just like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I don't know why I picked those names, but they have deep meaning to them. So Hiranyaksha, who is going to be the first child born, is he? Second child born. Is the youngest. Nonetheless, he's seeing gold everywhere, always searching for money, searching for wealth, searching for domination, like to inherit more and more and more. And we can see this in this chapter and the subsequent when he's battling Lord Boar. He's just wanting to increase his wealth and his prestige. And then Hiranyakashipu is a seat, a cushion, like a throne, to sit on gold, to be this big, powerful, sitting on top of the wealth of the world. So these are the qualities we can see that the names are attributed to the qualities of these personalities. So it's really interesting when you can, extract that bit of information like that. So again, when we're looking at that with practicality and not just straight philosophy, I find it interesting to look around, and the classes that I listen to, it urges me to do the same, is to say, well, these qualities are not just unique to the demons in the Bhagavatam. We can see that in ourselves or in people in the world or the politicians around us, as far as looking for wealth, always wanting to gain, to conquer, to be in control, have this big proud position. So when we introspect with these verses and with these texts, when we're hearing, and we can say, well, how does this actually apply to me? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Hare Krishna, that'd be amazing. But if it did, how can we perhaps use that same philosophy, that same Shastra, to navigate our way into improving our life of ourselves and those around us? We learn that in the 4 different ages, that good and evil actually resided in different places. So it's interesting as we're reading this. So here we are in Satya Yuga, that good and evil, or good and bad, you could say, resided in different planets. So this is where Vishnu, or Lord Boar, and Hiranyaksha, they were residing in different planets like this. And then Satya Treta Yuga, they were on the same planet, but different countries, good and evil. So this would be Lord Ram and Ravana. Same planet, different countries. Dwapara Yuga would be in the same family. So we can see that very clearly. Mahabharata with the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So it's just getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And then we've got good old Kali Yuga. Us residents here of Kali Yuga is good and evil, or good and bad, however you want to phrase that, is within the same person. So it's a little bit unnerving when I learnt this and when I meditate upon this, but then again that touches into the fact of, even Vishnu Jan the other day was saying, we've got in the Bhagavad Gita's 16th chapter divine and demoniac qualities, and that there's so few verses talking about the demoniac qualities. And why? It's because we don't need to learn about them. They're already inherent. We don't really want to focus too much on them. We want to focus on the divine qualities that we need to cultivate, that are also there, but that are covered due to our conditioning over many, many, many lives. Prabhupada would ask, our Srila Prabhupada would ask, what have you got to be proud of? And it's not to say, as like, well, I'm the head of this and I'm the head of this department and I work on this. It's like, no, it's kind of a obvious question as to, pride comes before a fall. Pride cometh before the fall is that phrase. I don't know where that comes from originally, but to be attached to our position of power, of prestige, of wealth, essentially Krishna's opulences that he has in full, the wealth, fame, beauty, renunciation, knowledge. So it's when we're pride through our attachment to that, thinking it's me and mine, that's a big problem. And that's these tendencies we can see in these personalities, which we go, oh, they're terrible. Wow, these demons are really horrible and nasty. They've got terrible qualities. But if we really analyze, it's like, well, maybe there's some of those qualities, even in just a fraction. We want to get rid of that. Otherwise, we're not, like, you can't go back to Goloka Vrindavan with these little demonic tendencies. So we have to be careful. And we're so fortunate because Caitanya Mahaprabhu has come down in this form, in this Kali Yuga, as Namo Mahavandanyaya, to mercifully distribute the most powerful form of purification in the form of Krishna's holy names. So as we take to this sincerely and we understand the import of what is the increase of impiety compared to the decrease of impiety and what the effect is going to have on us and those around us, we can move closer to become more sincere with these efforts. There's so many hellish things going on here only in the 3rd canto, what to speak of in the 12th canto when we finally get there, and it's talking about the actual qualities of Kali Yuga. It describes very clearly what is coming in Kali Yuga, and it mentions in the 2nd chapter, verses 2 and 3, I've got it written here. In Kali Yuga, wealth alone will be considered the sign of a man's good birth, proper behavior, and fine qualities. Law and justice will be applied only on the base of one's power, and men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction. Success in business will depend on deceit. Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a Brahmin just by wearing a thread. So pretty heavy hitting, but also not too far away from where we're at. Like, Hare Krishna, it's sad, but it's true. And this is the 10,000 year golden era that we keep hearing about, but it's like, there's still all this in this, like, you think this bubble that we have, this 10,000 era, due to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara, that we've got this here in Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and we've only just begun Kali Yuga, and there's still another 400 and something thousand years to go. Wow, if that's not an impetus to take it up seriously, I don't know really what's going to light a fire under our backsides. You know, we've got to see if any of those attributes are alive and well in good old-fashioned Kali Yuga. The very first words that are listed or that are written, that are printed, not just the first page, but like on the Srimad Bhagavatam, do we know what that is? The very first sentence of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Not even a verse. In the prologue, like in the first part of the prologue, what Prabhupada is introducing us into the Srimad Bhagavatam with. He says, we must know the present need of human society. It's a calling for us to actually approach this massive text and apply it to the current situation that we're in. Knowing full well, it's like Prabhupada didn't start writing the Bhagavatam or translating the Bhagavatam and not know where he was going. It wasn't like, what's that series, the Game of Thrones, where it's like he's still writing it. You know, it's like it's released and it's this big, massive hit and millions of people are watching it, and he's like, oh, I'm still writing it. I don't actually know how it's going to finish. I don't want to lose any fans. You know, I've got to, work in the favorite characters and do all this stuff. This has been here since time, like it's always been here. And so the conclusion is already there. Now we're just having to learn it and apply it and understand what the present need of human society is. That's the opening statement of our Bhagavatam. And then concludes that whole prologue with, Srimad Bhagavatam is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. I think that's really pretty wonderful. So it's to say we're actually applying what we're reading. Otherwise it's just gyan. And we know on the yoga ladder that gyan doesn't get you where you need to go. It gets you to renunciation and then that's it. Right? But we have a process that understands that Krishna is a person, there's a personal feature, it's a personal movement, not an impersonal movement. So it's just connecting these dots that are all around us and we're constantly hearing. So I listen to this, I've begun listening to this almost obsessively, this lecture or this presentation by His Grace Radhika Raman Das, or Radhika Raman Prabhu. He's quite an incredible personality, and he has this discourse, Spiritual Solution to Material Problems, Engaged Vaishnavism. So listen back to that, or what you're doing, write it at home and just watch it. Just after this, just watch it, listen to it, binge it. It's amazing. It expands all of this so intensely. Radhika Raman, spiritual solutions to material problems. That's not a plug. I'm not paid. I'm just obsessed by it at the moment. Anyhow, back to the verse. So the occurrences in this verse, we can see, all right, we don't have pus raining from the clouds. I don't know what the state of the she-jackals are at the moment. You know, they're not spitting violent fire from their mouth, as this verse says. However, sadly, when we're introspecting, they're very gross, like things that are happening around us, very clearly in these verses, on a very large scale. However, behind closed doors, we can think that the material world or things around us are all hurry bol, peachy keen, nothing's wrong, but then you just need to log into Facebook, you know, and these keyboard warriors that just shower nothing but hate online. Anyone's able to have their own podcast, and that's not always a bad thing, but with that, they're able to just freely share whatever unresolved traumas they have online and then give other people a little platform to share theirs, and it just spreads like this. It's a disease. It's an absolute disease. But it's all behind closed doors and behind a little TV screen like this, and no problem. It's not actually a problem because, you know, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I'm not, you know, it's concerning. There's 80 billion land animals slaughtered every year for their meat and flesh and bones. 80 billion, that's only land animals. COVID we just went through recently, that wasn't just an effect on our body, but politically, emotionally, it tore so many people apart. It's like, are you pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine? One's right, the other one's not right. You might as well say it's, you know, personalists and impersonalists fighting. It was like, it was horrible to watch. And I'm sure it's still out there to a point. Now, it's not a political discourse I'm giving, but it's just, you can see that it's not so much the intensity that's written in these verses, but subtly, you know, we're all still so affected by what's going on there. We're given a formula in the very first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, exactly how, if you want, we can just go downwards. And it starts with women not being protected. And when women aren't protected, what happens? There's degradation. There's degradation in the family unit. There's unwanted progeny, unwanted children, so they're not cared for, and it creates a hellish life for the family and those around them, because it stops the pious activities. No more chanting, no more yagyas, no more, you know, attendance of this. Then the community, it says, community and welfare activities become devastated and they dwell in hell. Sorry, this is very different kata from yesterday's Radhastami, but, you know, it's not my fault, it's the verse. But with this, we can use it for a really wonderful thing, because it gives us a big reason to be a preacher or a teacher, to be a Vaishnava, to actually give of ourselves. You know, we're meant to be protecting the women, cows, children, Brahmins, and elderly. Like that's what we're meant to be doing. But then sadly, we can also see in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit, you know, he's wandering around, he encounters the personification of Kali. And you've got bull, Dharma, in the form of a bull talking to Mother Earth in the form of a cow. And he's saying, why are you crying? Is it because, and it's these points, is it because the cows are being neglected? Like all these things, the Brahmins aren't being protected, children are not cared for, like this. So the exact same things that we're meant to be doing, is like, even at the very, very beginning, it's Dharma, what is religion? And he's saying to Mother Earth, is these things happening to you? This is the very beginning of Kali Yuga. So we've got a lot to work on. Anyhow, we work through the eyes of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We can't just have one without the others, so all three, and we can see very clearly in, Nectar of Instruction, Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam Udoro Pasta Vegam, Etan Veganyo Vishaheta Diraha, Sarvam Apimam Pritivim Sasisyat. If you can tolerate the urges of the to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, you're able to make you're qualified to make disciples around the world. And it's not a call to arms for everyone to become a Diksha guru or to, take up the baton and preach to every single person that you see. But it means we're able to just present nicely. And I was always, when I started practicing as a devotee, I was asking, how do I preach to my family? How do I preach to my parents? How do I get them into devotional service? And I was told very directly, very quickly, it's through your own actions. You don't need to walk around with a Bhagavad Gita in hand and like a stick in the other one. It's very much a case of through your own personal behavior and your actions, this is how you're going to have such a great impact on those around you. It doesn't always have to be sitting down in a class like this. Even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, he said that there's so much more power in having a one-to-one conversation than you can have in a bundle of 10,000. I don't know the number he gave. Maybe it was 1,000, maybe it was 100. But the point was, an individual communion like this, an individual impact that you can have with someone is so much more powerful and long-lasting than what you can have in just the large conversation like this. Anyway, taking this medicine on board, using it as a compass, like how can we, all right, and am I facing into a more pious or impious direction? Am I controlling these urges that are in there? Vegam, the urges of all these, my goodness, every day we love Saridhara Vidyajā Jananjiya Taikal. It's our favorite mantra, maybe next to the Maha Mantra. Please, no offense, that was a joke. But the tongue is the most voracious and hard to control. So it's an urge, and that's to eat, that's to speak, So we have to bring it in a bit. But we're so fortunate, especially here at the farm, in any kind of devotee association, in Sangha. We know the term alava matra, a moment's association with a pure devotee. But even a devotee, what to speak of pure devotee, just a devotee, a moment's association can completely derail someone's material life in the best possible way. I remember laughing, and I still laugh, it was the Wisdom of the Sages podcast. Early on, I remember I was listening, and they said, this bhakti has ruined my material life. I can't enjoy the same things I used to enjoy anymore. It's just trapped like this. I thought it was hysterical. I still do, because it's so true. Like this, a little agyata sukriti can go a long way. So we need to dovetail our activities. In the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we hear about, I think it's text 14 to 20, 14 to 18, the austerities, the threefold austerities we need to perform in life, of the mind, body, and words. I nearly forgot it. Mind, body, and words. We need to perform these austerities of speaking pleasingly, non-agitatingly, using our body for good like this, and then in so doing, it's going to positively, hopefully, impact those around us. So these hellish conditions that are spoken of in all through the texts, maybe not completely avoided, but improved upon, at the very, very least, not degraded. Don't degrade the surroundings there. We have such a massive philosophy, but it's been mercifully given to us by His divine grace. And the Guru Parampara, and the devotees here, well, all around the world, we're so very fortunate. Our eternal position is not that of an enjoyer. Our eternal position is of Gopi Bhatu Parakamalayo Dasa Dasa Anudasa. Is the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. And keep going, servant of the servant of the servant, but we'll run out of time of the class if we keep doing this. So when we can understand that, we can approach the world in that more humble state of mind. Again, Mahaprabhu came and gave Trinadapi Sunichena, to be humble, to be tolerant, to be compassionate. Every morning we're saying Vanchakalpa Trubhascha Kripasindabhaivacha Vanchakalpa Trubhascha Kripasindabhaivacha Pati. Oh, my brain. We've got to be compassionate. Devotees are meant to be compassionate, not just to those that they like, but everyone. Compassionate to all the fallen conditioned souls, it translates to. So it's not just words, it's meant to be actions, not just philosophy, it's not just ritual. It's not just, oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, like, really offering, like, pranams. That's important. In the Bhagavad Gita we hear, Bhaktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Surdam Sarvabhutanam Nyatvamam Shantim Richati. Krishna is the ultimate well-wisher of us. He's the benefactor, the beneficiary. And when we know this, that he is the well-wisher, when we actually offer it to him nasa, when we're in this right mood of devotion, we don't have this, we get peace from the pangs of material diseases, the material disease and the pangs that hit us. Even in the very opening of the Bhagavatam, it says one of the issues of the world, there's a pinprick. It says, Prabhupada says, there's a pinprick in society, which is, this is a comfortable asan. If someone put a thumbtack underneath the seat, no matter how comfortable the rest of it is, I might have all these nice facilities. If I've got a pinprick in there, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I can't focus on anything. So there's a pinprick at the moment. There's some uncomfortable, some distress, and we need to address these things. All right, I'm running out of time. It's clear that the basic principle of material bondage is that I am this body, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, and whatever is in relation to me is mine. Whereas, if you're actually in knowledge, one gives all the credit to Krishna, and I am just an instrument, but an instrument to who? And that's our choice. An instrument to Krishna? Like, how stunning and beautiful is that? Or an instrument of Maya. It's sounds simple, but it's a constant adjustment. Constant. Lots of little micro. People will... So I remember, like, some volunteers asked me, we were talking about surrender, and what is that moment of surrender that sort of, fixes it all, Draupadi style, and Krishna comes in unlimited amounts of fabric, or whatever it is important for you at that point in time. It's not just a case of that, hey Govinda, and then that's it. Although Srila Prabhupada in that amazing lecture, you can see the clip, I think it's in Melbourne, and he's asked the same thing, and he says 1 moment, like 1 minute. You just surrender. But for us, we're not able to just make that one big surrender and that's it, bus. No, it's lots of incremental moments of surrender. Every moment is a choice. Every interaction, every time we come in here, it's a choice. You can still be looking at the deities and just be thinking of something very, very far away. So it's always a choice, just turning back to Krishna, using this philosophy that we have, the mercy that we've been given. So we're going to increase that piety. I've got time. In the Caitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 1367, Srila Prabhupada says in his purport that a bona fide devotee of Lord Krishna is always pained to see the fallen condition of the world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, there is no scarcity of anything in this world. The only scarcity is of Krishna consciousness. That's the vision of all pure devotees. Because of this lack of Krishna consciousness in human society, people are suffering terribly, being merged into an ocean of nescience and sense gratification. A devotee onlooker is very much aggrieved to see such a situation in the world. Oh, heavy. Amazing though. Bring it back in because I'm just going to run out of time. But it comes back to the point of we can see very clearly what happens when there is an increase of impiety in the world, in any part of the world, and just its butterfly, its ripple effect that can happen from there. We can't understand just how far it goes. But also we can see very clearly in 1965 when our Srila Prabhupada came to the West, the increase of piety and its effect, its ripple effect. Who could have understood? I mean, perhaps he understood on that park bench when someone was asking who he was, and he says, I've got so many devotees, so many disciples, so many 108 temples. Nothing had happened like that yet. It was time separating. He had the vision, he had that belief, that understanding that there's no troubles, there's no problems, there's just service to my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada would say, I've heard. So when we make that considered effort, the ripples can just keep going and going and going and going and going. That one person can then spread their own ripples, and that other person can spread their own ripples. It's unbelievable. It's such a process in all forms: preaching, book distribution, prasadam distribution. You name it, we got it, and we got the best. This farm's amazing. When Krishna appears himself, he comes as a collective effort also. We're not here as bhajananandis, meaning we're just here to do our bhajan in our room. There's a little cave nook down here by Govardhana that we could perhaps sit in. But that's not the point here. Krishna came himself, and what he brings his family, brings his friends, he brings his paraphernalia, he brings Govardhana, he brings Vrindavan itself down with him. It's not just him coming down to say, don't worry, I can do it myself. I mean, he can, but that's not the point. That's not the method, and that's not the teaching. We're here to do it as a collection, as a collective of people here. This community is meant to be coming together to expand and to increase that positivity, that love, that service attitude. Heck, yesterday with Radhastami, nothing but love and service. Srila Prabhupada, and I'll conclude with this, has told us that the cities will become full in the future. People will live, it will become unlivable. And they're going to leave, and where are they going to come to? He said, places like this, exactly like this, in farming communities. Whether it was actually farming communities, perhaps Prabhu, you can correct me on that, but whether it was exactly farming communities, but the regional, to the countryside, where it's livable, where it's clean air, where there's people like this, where it's sustainable, where you can grow your own food, because you can't grow anything in the city. Not as well as this anyhow. So we must prepare ourselves, actually have places like this strong enough, so when that eventuates, we're actually ready to welcome, and we can see that, I think, and in my own very personal experience, Krishna Village's glory. I came through as a volunteer, and now somehow I'm sitting on the Vyasasan. I don't know how that happened. I think it started with shaving my head. But really, it's like this, and it was because there was a selection of very kind, very lovely, very encouraging people that were just wanting the best for me, and it just so happened that the best is Krishna consciousness for me. And so we say that Om Magyana Tamirandasya, we're armed with the torchlight of knowledge, and so with that we can help illuminate people around that might think that this material world is peachy keen and everything's fine, nothing's problem, I love it. I'd come back again if I had a choice. It's like, well, you don't have a choice. You're going to if you have that attitude, but that's not the point. As I said, a little agyata sukriti can go a very, very, very long way. And just to wrap it up, I guess, is that we have such ripe fruit, dry grass. The book distributors, I learned that when I went out going up to Cairns and back. You want to look for those people, the low-hanging fruit. And we have that in abundance here. So we have a very real and very continuous opportunity here to increase that piety, that increase that auspicious quality of here, not just in the temple room, but all around. And I think we're doing a wonderful job at that, but it's just always nice to have these very clear crossways between the philosophy and practicality. So to be aware of our true position, with Trinadapi Sunichana, so with compassion, with tolerance, with understanding, we remain chaste to our Srila Prabhupada, and we can actually perfect our lives and improve those around us and go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, I've only left a few moments, maybe 5-10 minutes. If anyone's got some questions, corrections, comments, chastisements, I'll take it. There's a microphone next to Julian there if anyone would like to say anything. Yes, Prabhu, thank you very much. Save the day. Oh, yeah.
To us, they're very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no there's no moral compass anymore.
Oh yeah.
We read daily about crime of the youth is out of control, especially in Australia, in all parts of Australia. And it's surprising that there's no action against what we say, all this impious activity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for us, the cause of that is very obvious. So I thought I'd invite you to comment on that. Why is it that they're not acting on a more positive level? Usually it's just band-aid measures trying to patch up these problems.
Yes.
Without dealing with the core issue, which is impiety.
Thank you. That's a perfect point. And it reminds me very clearly of there was a story Radhanath Maharaj gives, and he was at an airport after, I guess he's always traveling, so it's not a surprise, but he was at this airport after a very large program, speaking to so many different groups of people, and I was at this airport feeling, okay, good, now I can just relax, go to the next destination, have a moment. And this person comes running up to him. It's like, this such and such wants to speak to you, this minister of health, this minister of environment, that's right, the environmental minister of such and such place wants to speak with you. So, okay, well, I'm a servant, right? So I'll go and speak with her. And her question was exactly like this. And he says, in the same vein, there is such pollution in the world. The people are one thing. There's like the pollution in the world. The rivers are not okay here. There's all these environmental problems. Why aren't you doing anything about this? You have such a large amount of people. What are you doing about it? Why aren't you doing anything about it? And it touches exactly on this point where we can see the cause and not just the symptom. But for her, she's just trying to fix the symptoms. And he says, we could invest all our time and all our money and all our energy into cleaning up the rivers and the streams and water sources, but so quickly afterwards it would just become polluted again because your cause is incorrect, because you're still dumping all this rubbish, all this waste, and you're not caring like this, you're not recycling properly. So exactly how you're saying, Prabhu, where it's we can try and have all these reformation programs or try and correct some behavior over here, but it's just it's symptomatic of a deeper cause, which is just that avidya that's so prevalent. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I remember being out on books, and I was this lady. She was a brick wall. I couldn't believe it. I'd never met anyone that was just so, I don't want to say ignorant, but we'd done Harinam around the marketplace, trying to purify the area. It was really sweet. We'd had a really lovely day in this lady. I said, any yoga meditation, trying to sort of open up the spiel like this. And I said, trying to get to know her. What do you do? I'm a butcher. Okay, interesting start. I was like, what do you do for hobbies? Oh, I'm a bodybuilder. I was like, oh my God, okay, this is going to be interesting. Have you heard of the soul? No. Are you just tried it, just fishing? Are you a vegetarian? No. Like this? Do you believe in reincarnation? No. Like how can people in the modern society be just so head under the sand and going about their business? It's really, I found it really, for us it's just so clear. It's so clear, as you're saying, Mataji, the higher taste that you get, even just having some interaction with whether it's the devotees in a positive way, hopefully, getting a book, having some prasadam, seeing the Rath cart, and this is the benefit and the blessing of expanding this Krishna consciousness movement by, even though there's seemingly an increase in this challenges, what's happening, say, with the kids that are just doing all sorts of nonsense at such an early age, and it's just it seems almost unfixable. But as it expands, we can't understand where that's going in the future. Something has to give, and the Ratha Yatra parades are getting bigger in the world. The amount of vegetarian restaurants are opening and prasadam distribution is getting wider and wider and wider. You just need to look at any of the temples in India. I hear from the devotees, even yourself, Prabhu, that like in Mayapur, Vrindavan, the ISKCON temples back in the day, it's like so much room, and now you got to squeeze yourself in there. You can't get, you've got to be strategic to get into these temples. So there is an increase, and it has to expand somewhere. I feel, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful because I have faith in Srila Prabhupada and his mission and his devotees like this, but it's hard because you can see the pain that's existing in the world. Sure. Of course, yeah, and there's... Oh, yeah. Maybe in a taking mood, maybe they're Kama Mishra Bhaktis, a bit of mix, I want something and like this. But even they say, all these things we hear, you see Jagannath on the Rath cart, and that'll be the last thing you see as you leave your body. It's like, that's pretty cool. So there's all these boons that exist, and perhaps we don't see it immediately. Maybe it won't impact them this life or the next life or the following ones, but it'll have something. It has to. In my humble opinion. Is that okay? I don't have a solution, unfortunately. I think this is the solution, applying philosophy with practicality. Applying, philosophy and practicality crossing over, not just remaining jnanis, not just remaining philosophy in the head only. Because when that happens, then you're like too fearful to expand it and actually apply it like this, then it won't. It can't. And there was this nonsense that's existing up, this seemingly increase of degradation, which we know is going to happen, but at least we can have it like, rather than just falling flat on its head, maybe it can be like a controlled fall, with some nice moments on the way down. A lot of people blessed on the way down. Maybe that's a bit depressing to finish the class on, but that's it. Haribol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.